spooky podcast for you. 3, 4, lots of blood and gore. 5, 6, Freddy's goofy tricks. 7, 8, another deadly fate. 9, 10, never podcast again.
Hello and welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Happy
Halloween.
Happy Halloween from the past. My name is Micah Jordan.
My name's Jordan McCaw.
And we are married.
Yeah.
We have sealed the deal.
And we have a very good friend, and his name is Freddy Krueger.
Uh-huh.
And we were excited to watch another installment of his messed up, twisted life.
Yes, and if you are listening along, this is the fifth Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and this is the last of the movies that you and I have seen.
Mm-hmm.
Although I have seen the remake, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So from here on out, it is
fair game.
It is new territory.
We watched this one last year and decided to not continue because we knew we wanted to cover the series.
Yeah.
So we thought, let's just save the rest.
Yeah, which I'm feeling good about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember on first viewing, I was like, man, this one sucks, but it's still awesome because there's great kills.
Yeah.
And we'll see what I think this time around.
Yeah.
But I think I have to update people on a nightmare that I had. Because this movie, of all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, gave me a nightmare.
Mm.
And it gave me what I fear most, which is it ruined a scene in Breaking Bad.
Okay.
So in my real world life, I've been rewatching Breaking Bad for like the 5th time. It's my favorite show. I love it.
The only thing he'll rewatch.
Pretty much. And then I go to bed one night and I have this dream where there's this whole extra sequence in the movie that is like hand drawn like 2D, where it's like a mob boss like comes over and then they like kill some people. And I just was watching it in the dream going, well, I've always said this is a perfect show and everything's great, but I think I have to admit that this is a pretty bad scene. Like they didn't even shoot it. It's just animated, but it's like storyboard animation. It's really bad.
Yeah.
And then the next day I told you that and you were like, well, that's because in this movie he goes into the comic book world and you had a dream about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, Freddy got me.
He did.
Freddy
I'm
got
glad you
me.
made it out alive.
I did make it out alive. But yeah, so I had to update people on that. Any updated nightmares since we started this?
Not that I can remember.
I felt so excited though that happened.
Yeah.
Once you showed me the light that I had a horror induced nightmare.
Yeah.
Another thing we might want to just say for our horror fans is we saw Halloween Ends on by now it's been
When does this come
a long
out?
time. I think we're in November on this episode.
But like, are we deep into it?
This might have just been Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But Halloween Ends, a very controversial movie. But guess what? It's actually really good.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's the Last Jedi of slasher movies.
It was so great because I kept seeing, and I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't seen it. But what I kept seeing about the movie was everyone says this isn't a Halloween movie. This is a Corey Cunningham movie.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, great. Can't wait to find out what Corey Cunningham's all about.
Yep.
And it was awesome.
And boy, did we find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made that David Gordon Green is the most interesting director working right now. Especially if you include his TV work.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying the best, because I mean it's tough to beat Paul Thomas Anderson. But it's kind of like, could David Gordon Green make a Paul Thomas Anderson type movie? Probably. But could Paul Thomas Anderson make a Halloween movie that subverts the entire genre? I don't think so. So, I don't know. But yeah, so here's where they made Nightmare on Elm Street 4, did well, and then they're like, okay, it's time for prime time, as Freddy says in Dream Warriors. And so they make a show called Freddy's Nightmare.
Is it animated?
No.
Okay.
Robert Englund is in it. and he is like,
Who would ever want a show like that? That's just weird. And I love these movies.
yeah. So the idea was, they would be anthologies where it's like Freddy terrorizes like a person, and then he like hosts the show, and it's like a dark Twilight Zone kind of thing where it's like he's like the crypt keeper, and he's like, well, here's what happened this time, slashes the screen and he's talking to you.
Okay.
And they had a ton of guest stars. Brad Pitt is in an episode.
Okay, I'm in.
But
especially if it's him presenting it. Like if Freddy Krueger, like Elvira or something, it's like, okay, this is really cool.
But it started off with a decent budget, and it's doing really poor. Because the idea was this will be played late at night, so it can be like violent, kind of sexual, kind of intense, like the Nightmare movies. But it'll be late at night, so there's no need to worry. But it got syndicated.
It did? Isn't that huge?
Yeah, I feel like it was different back then though, because this show only ran for 44 episodes.
Like my understanding of syndicated is if your show gets syndicated, that means that it'll be rerun forever and you'll be rich forever.
Yes, that is the thing. And I remember there's kind of like a mark, at least there used to be when we were growing up, of like if a show runs for 100 episodes, it'll probably get syndicated.
Oh.
Because I remember with Community, when it got to 100 episodes, everybody who was a fan was like, okay, they made it to 100, so they're probably going to syndicate this, which means we can probably get to 6 seasons.
Yeah. And then we didn't. I mean, we got to 6 seasons,
but not on television.
The way. Yeah.
But so having said all that, this runs for 44 episodes, 2 seasons, but the budgets keep getting lower and lower and lower, and people are not really watching it.
Yeah.
But as it's getting syndicated, that means people are just filling it in on time slots.
This does feel like the kind of shows like this.
Yeah.
Where it is like, if it's on, people will watch it.
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually gain a viewership?
Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't know either.
But I
wasn't alive during this time.
I wasn't either. We were close.
Yeah.
But we weren't there yet. But so basically, it's getting syndicated, and they're running it kind of at random times. So all of a sudden, this show that's supposed to be at late night is running at like 5 p.m. in the Bible Belt. So parents are freaking out. So I was watching, all this behind the scenes about it, and the producers and stuff were saying it was really not politically correct, and there's some pretty intense stuff in there, and they really pushed the boundaries. And I watched an episode today. Mm-hmm. I watched the pilot episode. And in the pilot, it is the trial of Fred Krueger.
Was it interesting or boring?
Well, let me explain what happened. So he has the trial right at the beginning, and then the officer who arrested him didn't follow procedure, didn't read him his Miranda rights.
As we all know.
Yeah, and so he's let loose. And then there's an implication that Freddy was like the officer said, he almost killed Freddy because he was going after his daughter.
Okay.
So kind of interesting. It's going along. It's, the thing about it is I think the plot of the episode is actually great. It's just that it is 1988 and TV is not like if this was made today.
This is an American Crime Story.
Huh?
Oh, you mean like the show?
No. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Fine, keep going.
Sorry. Yeah. But if this was made today, it just off of its very basis and the way they make TV shows, it would just look better. The actors would be better. As an American
Crime Story season.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Let Ryan Murphy sink his claw.
No, let's keep him away from this one.
I guess is what I'm saying, but I don't want that.
But yeah.
I found out he did The Watcher. And it's just I mean, obviously he's successful. Obviously. People went nuts for the Dahmer show. And I've heard a lot about the Watcher show, so people are watching it. But I think I just feel this way because I fell off of pretty much anything he's done so long ago, including the most recent American Crime Story.
Yeah, which was bad.
Just so boring. So I every time I just see something new with his name on it, it's like, dang. Because I've put in a lot of time for him, and he's done a lot of great stuff, but he's done a lot of bad stuff to the point where I'm like, I can't do it.
He's
gotta be
quantity
done.
over quality.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, when is he gonna do the next? Well, what you have the one haunted house show, and then you have the Bly Manor show. When are we gonna give him the 3rd season of that?
oh yeah, I hope not, because apparently people like those shows, and he would probably ruin it for those people that like those shows.
Is that Mike Flanagan?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's funny. Your joke is approved. But the point I'm trying to make is they just make TV better from the ground up these days. So that's against it. But Freddy is let loose, and then the lawyer who's trying to prosecute him like gets all the townspeople together, and he's like, "Let's go kill Freddy." And they head over there, and the cop tries to stop them, but then Freddy says something about his daughter, and he lights him on fire. And then there is this kind of cool, I think it's a twist, or maybe where like the cop keeps thinking these things are happening, but it's Freddy who's like haunting his nightmares and stuff. And then he eventually kills him at the end of the episode. The cop that lit him on fire.
Freddy kills the cop.
Yeah, through his nightmares. And when I was watching it, I was like, gosh, dang it. Like, because we've been talking about this, and, you know, you and I don't know how this franchise has ended, quote unquote. But all these, you know, like Halloween got rebooted, and it's great. And, like, slasher is not supposed to ever die by, like, its very nature. And it's weird that Freddy... Scream, yeah. It's weird that Freddy is not... I mean, this series only has 9 entries, or 10, and it just seems like there should be, like, 20 by now.
Yeah. Do you think that people would, and not just horror fans, just people, would enjoy something like this? Because we are in a age of horror where it has to like it has to be A24 introspective,
I don't think it
hard
does,
on its
though.
sleeve.
Because like
so?
Smile is about to make like it's probably going to make $100 million in the US, and that is, from the trailers, that is like a very down the barrel horror movie.
Yeah.
And even though the last 2 Halloween movies didn't perform the best, they were still huge hits, like financially. They made their money back and more. And even like Scream was a huge hit earlier this year. So
but none of these are zany, is what I'm getting at.
That's true. That's a good point. But I think it's ripe for Freddy to come back and haunt everybody's nightmares.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if I'm not going to get a kooky Batman anytime soon or in my lifetime, I would like to get Freddy back at least.
Yeah. But I think you hire somebody to basically adapt this episode as like the first new Nightmare movie. And you don't have to like disregard the thing. It's just like, this is his trial and then his first like killings. I think it would be awesome because the plot is there. It just needs to be touched up and updated and just altogether better. But the plot was decent. It was cool. So
cool.
That's Freddy Nightmares. And after they were done, the crew went to Tales from the Crypt.
Cool. I have never seen any of those types of shows ever.
Yeah, I haven't really
Didn't grow
either.
up watching them, so I have like nothing for them. But I imagine that that's something that would be right up my alley.
Yeah. Well,
like I guess the closest I've had, because I never saw Tales to Tell in the Dark, right? Or Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Because they made a movie.
Yeah.
Like a couple years ago, and I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought they were just like,
I thought it was new.
Original. And then,
is it a book or?
I think it's a series. It's like that. It's like all different, like Goosebumps.
I didn't
or something.
realize that.
And then I'd say the closest for me is Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
that's like the only kind of type of thing that I've seen and like grew up watching.
Right. Yeah, I mean, as we've discussed a lot, like horror is something I've only gotten into since marrying you, really.
Yeah.
So this sort of, I mean, Twilight Zone I did watch, a little bit, but
yeah, very
not really horror.
Snail's pace, working my way through X-Files.
Yeah.
Even though my dad loves that show, I never grew up watching it.
Well, and I think with X-Files, I do think we were too young when it
it'd
started.
Be too scary. Yeah.
Like if we were maybe 5 or 6 years older, it would make sense that we would have grown up with that show.
Yeah.
But we're just a little too young for that.
Yeah. Man, the one I just watched. You know how Fox's Yeah, Mulder's whole thing is like, I'm scared. Or no, I want to believe.
Yeah.
That's like his thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, this episode I just watched, it was like the first time he was out on something. He was like, that's not real.
Oh,
And,
that's interesting.
wow, I'm blanking on her name.
Mulder or Fox. Scully, I mean.
Scully. And she's like believing it because she has some kind of personal connection to something that's going on. And at the end of the episode, he's like, why, after all the evidence, after everything that you've seen, why can't you believe? And she said, I'm afraid to believe.
Ooh,
oh,
that's
so
good. Are you still in the first season?
Yep.
Oh, man. Well, and that was back in the day where, you know, I just casually said Freddy's Nightmares was 44 episodes and 2 seasons. Like, you would just do 22 episodes, no matter what.
Yeah. So X-Files has like 1 million episodes.
Right. Where now it's like, if
I don't think the first season has 20. Does it?
I think it has 22.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. But that used to be the norm, and now it's like, I feel like 16 is kind of long.
Isn't it wild to think for a show like that that's about cryptids and aliens and everything that they whipped out that much? I mean, I know that like folklore is endless, which is so exciting, but how can they whip out so many?
I know, it's insane.
Crazy. And it's like, man, I can't even imagine what the Vince Gilligan episodes are going to be like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I guess in a way we have that show to thank for Breaking Bad, so
always bringing it back to Breaking Bad.
Whatever it takes. But let's talk about Nightmare 5 now. The teenage audience that went and saw Nightmare are now getting older, and their parents and one of the producers of this movie just had a kid.
Wow.
And they're going, he should have a kid now, Freddy. That's the natural place to go. And so they start contacting these horror writers from this famous magazine called Splatterpunk.
Yeah.
And between these 3 different writers, it is like throughout the shoot, constant script changes.
Yeah.
To the point where the actor who's the comic book nerd stopped trying to memorize his lines.
That's always a bad sign because that's always part of the trivia about those things.
Yeah. And like the director, Stephen Hopkins, is a huge comic book guy, owns thousands of comic books, like, and he's a good artist. So he's just like on set, he'd be like, let's do this. And he'd like storyboard all this stuff.
Wow.
And they have this huge room that has all these different sets on it. And they're rushed. Like they just don't have any time for this. This movie comes out in less than a year from Nightmare 4.
Whoa.
And that's like them starting doing everything.
Wow.
And there's literally like the sets are so close together and it's so rushed that some people are, say, building like the final set piece while they're trying to shoot on the same stage, you know, a different scene. And they're having to be like, okay, everybody shut up. We're about to shoot. And then it's like, okay, keep going. And then like,
yikes.
Let's set up a new shot. Okay, everybody shut up.
Why did they get it out in less than a year?
I don't know. And the producers kind of cited that as part of not just that the story was, at least in their eyes, kind of not quite on the pulse and a little like just didn't quite make all the way sense. They cited that it felt like there just became like some Freddy fatigue when it happened that fast. There's a show on TV.
Oh, I forgot about the show already. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think you and everybody else forgot about the show. So they went back and forth with the MPAA to avoid not getting it released, or I believe even getting an X rating. So a ton of the footage from the motorcycle scene and the eating scene were cut.
The eating scene is hard to watch.
Apparently it's much longer.
Oh.
And much, much grosser. I believe he starts feeding herself to him. Or
herself to her.
herself. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's the toughest one.
But I think you can watch the unedited scenes.
Yeah, no thanks.
I want to watch them.
I would love more motorcycle guy, though.
I know. The motorcycle is one of the coolest kills of the entire franchise. So it's directed by Stephen Hopkins, who did Predator 2, and he directed the very first rated R movie I ever saw, which was The Ghost in the Darkness with Val Kilmer.
Oh, really?
And Michael Douglas.
Wait, so this guy also did Predator 2?
Yeah. So someday we'll talk about him again.
Is that a beloved movie?
No. It's very bad.
Oh, okay.
It's hilarious how bad that one is.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a fun bad watch?
Yes, it is. Danny Glover is
Yeah.
a cop in New York.
So it's Lethal Weapon meets Predator
Yeah, because you've seen Predator 1, right?
on TV.
Yeah, but yeah, so they like go out into the jungle and
It
there's
scared me
this
so bad as a kid.
Right.
Oh, so bad.
But this one is like there's one loose in New York and
What
they're
hijinks is he getting it up to?
yeah, it's like, Home Alone, then Home Alone 2, Lost in New York kind of a thing. But it's a weird movie. It has like a baffling ending that has like all this, I think it's like references to things that are not explained in the movie and stuff.
Right on.
Whenever we cover it, I will be diving in because I bet that there's other cuts of the movie or like
Yeah.
a bunch of deleted scenes because the last scene,
Makes no sense.
like if I'm remembering right, and I could be a little wrong, I think the Predator like attacks him and he pulls out like a Revolutionary War pistol and shoots him.
But
and,
we've
it
never
like
seen that gun before.
yeah, and it like really focuses on the gun like this was a thing.
I'm killing you, revolutionary style.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he directed it, and then the screenplay is by Leslie Boehm, who did uncredited work on Jason Goes to Hell,
Ah.
a movie we covered on the 90 Under 90
Yes.
with the boys. And Leslie also did Dante's Peak. And then the story is by John Skip, who is a horror writer, and Craig Spector, who is also a horror writer. And then Leslie Boehm gets a story credit as well. Cinematography by Peter Levy, who did Predator 2. Music is by Jay Ferguson, who is a rock and pop musician and has the band Spirit and JoJo Gunn, and most famously composed the Office theme song.
What's his name?
Jay Ferguson.
Is he referenced a lot in comedy? Because that name is familiar.
That name
but
is
I don't
familiar.
recognize those bands.
I don't know.
And now I just want to know. There's probably a video on it.
Uh-huh.
I just am curious how that song got to be the song. For The
Yeah,
Office.
I'm sure we could look it up.
It's just
but
it's so iconic.
yeah.
Wait, was that written for the show?
Well, that's what I have here, but I don't know if it was like he had a band that had the song or whatever.
Unfortunately, I am not interested enough to actually look it up.
No, this is not a TV show
I'm
podcast.
saying later. I'm not even going to look it up.
No, okay. The movie comes out August 11th, 1989 on a $6 million budget and makes $22 million.
So it makes a lot of money.
Yeah, but seen as an underperformer.
Yeah. So then Jelly Joe Minter plays Yvonne.
Jelly Joe Minter. What
Jelly
a name.
Joe Minter.
Oh, Kelly. I thought you said Jelly Joe.
I did say Jelly. She was also in The People Under the Stairs, Summer School, The Lost Boys.
Okay.
I remember her in The Lost Boys.
I can like see her in it, even though I don't remember her, if that makes sense.
Sure. And then Erica Anderson plays Greta. She is in Zandali. It's a Nick Cage movie. Wow. That poster is nuts. Okay, this is Zandali, which I've never heard of this movie before. And she stars in it with these two men.
Okay.
What year
are we talking?
And Judge Reinhold.
Whoa.
We're talking
late 90s, right?
1991.
Early 90s,
This
okay.
is the plot. Theory's wife, Zandali, married the poet he once was. Taking over his dad's company in New Orleans gives him stress and impotence. Theory, I don't know if I'm saying that name right, meets his high school buddy Johnny at a bachelor party. The painter Johnny can satisfy Zandali. What is this movie? Look at that. Look at that poster.
Yeah. I mean, it's Zandali. What are you gonna do about it? Nicolas Cage he's got like the kind of like the devil goatee thing.
The Jack White goatee.
Yeah.
Get behind me, Satan.
Yeah, and then Judge Reinhold has a
mustache.
Very thin mustache.
I doubt I bet that is the first and only time Judge Reinhold had facial hair. And Nicolas Cage kind of looks like an Oliveira. So that's for you, Josiah. You should look it up.
Actually, yeah, he does in that picture, yeah. Before you move on from her, it's just they do a fun thing in the Never Sleep Again documentary where when they bring on a cast member, it'll read in the script like how that character is announced. So, it'd be like Jordan, a young 20-something, and yada, yada. And then the person starts talking. But on hers, in the script, it says like Greta is a work like a work by God, a work that proves God was working hard that day or something like that.
That's very
Which is like
strangely put.
just a poetic way of saying she's pretty.
Weird. And she's also in Twin Peaks.
Okay.
The Ridge. Joe Seeley plays Mark. That's the comic book guy.
Yeah.
He is also in Of Light and Darkness, Armed and Dangerous. I've never seen this movie, but it's a John Candy movie. And Meg Ryan and Eugene Levy. And
I've
it has
heard
a
of this movie.
17 Metascore.
Oh, maybe I haven't heard of this movie.
But I love that poster. Let's put that up.
Yeah, tell me what the tagline of that one
A
is.
fired cop and useless lawyer sign up as security guards and find they've joined a corrupt union.
Oh, that's not a very fun tagline.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be like you've seen?
Well, that's not the tagline. That's the premise. The tagline is,
okay.
at guard dog security, John Candy is keeping you safe from the scum of the earth. Still not great.
Now it should be like you've seen him. You've seen him in the great outdoors. You've seen him be an uncle, but have you seen him at mall security or something like that? Maybe.
Maybe.
That's better.
Yeah. He's also
Give me
in
that.
Cowboy
It's better.
Zombies. It needs work.
Well, yeah. First draft.
And that's about it, because the Friends are the biggest newcomers.
Okay.
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break and let's encourage you to listen to my brand new album. So the movie begins.
Mm-hmm.
And we see what I would define as one of the more disturbing moments of the entire series, which is two bodies making love in a manner that
But you don't
you
know
can't
what
figure it
body
out.
part you're looking at.
Yeah. And
It was The Room-esque. Although
Yes.
you do know what you're looking at on that. But
yeah, you know too much on
Yeah.
that one. But so you know at the end of this movie when there's the super Freddy, like he like pops out of his costume in the comic book and he has the like Shazam
yeah.
lightning bolt. That actor is the guy that's in the beginning.
okay. Why?
I don't know.
Because isn't it Dan and Alice?
You would think so. And so
But it is. Story
yeah,
wise.
but Dan was like
I mean, maybe he's like, I'm not doing that.
well, the actor was like, I appreciate it because it made me look really muscular.
Okay. So no harm, no foul, I guess.
I guess, yeah. But yeah, so that's what's happening. You can't really tell what's going on. And then we're kind of, no pun intended, thrust right into the shower where
Yeah.
Alice goes and takes a shower.
Yeah.
Now, this is, for me, pretty terrifying as a germaphobe. See, this is what Freddy would do to get in my brain.
Yeah.
Because she's taking a
Apparently
shower.
not, according to what you just told us. But yeah.
But I wasn't really scared.
Okay.
You know, it was an adult nightmare.
But is Freddy really scary?
No, he's fun. But he attacks like poopy water starts coming out of the shower. And then also, is this 3 movies in a row where there's been a completely naked woman underwater?
Well, the last one had it. When did the other one have it?
I thought Dream Warriors did too. No, that just had
No.
the naked nurse.
Yeah.
The nudity in this series always confuses me because these movies are so fun to me. I forget they're rated R.
Uh-huh.
So like the first time someone says an F word, I'm always like, oh yeah. And then when there's nudity, I'm always like, oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because it just feels like they're PG-13,
Yeah.
but like edgy PG-13.
Yeah, like a Deadpool PG-13.
Yeah.
But yeah, the water fills up and she is drowning, but then she wakes up, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so here, like I said, the first time I saw this, I was like, this first movie, or this is the worst of them, is what I thought. I've since changed my tune a little bit because as this movie was going on, I think I know, we just talked about how there was a rush shoot and everything was rushed, but I think the directing is like way better than 4.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the scene, because the next scene is you see Amanda Kruger, and I think it's Alice's dream, so it's like Alice dressed
I
as
forgot
Amanda
to look up
Kruger.
who that is. I don't have my phone.
Oh, that's okay. We can skip it, unless you really want to.
Well, I don't have my phone,
Okay.
so no.
But it's like when all the men attack Amanda Kruger
Yeah,
in the asylum, and the way it's shot, it's like they're using fisheye lenses.
as
like,
you said, it's a Terry Gilliam.
Yeah, it's like all these weird
God.
angles, and it's way creepier than the last movie.
Mhm.
And I just think right off the bat, this movie, even this weird like sex scene at the beginning, I personally don't like it, but it does set a weird tone,
Yeah.
and it seems intentional. Whereas a lot of 4 are actually,
Well, we see them conceive the baby.
yeah, but it's kind of weird reading that this movie was so written as it went along because I feel like it's a little bit better written than The Dream Master.
Yeah.
Because I kind of like the plot of this
Well,
movie.
our main character doesn't weirdly die in the middle of this movie.
Right. That was a big problem with the last one.
Yeah.
By the way, Jordan is sitting in front of me dressed as Simon Pegg from Shaun of the Dead.
No, I am Shaun of the Dead. I'm
Yeah.
not Simon Pegg. I am Shaun of the Dead.
You're right. Hi, Gilmore. Way to give me quite the look. I'm petting you now.
Okay, so what did we just talk about? Oh,
Amanda
that
Kruger.
scene, Amanda Kruger. But
Yeah.
then I think she like wakes up again.
Uh-huh.
And what does she go to school or something?
Yeah, graduation.
Yeah.
And you pointed out that the dubbing in this movie is far worse than the dubbing in the previous movie.
And the dubbing in the previous movie was really bad too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty. I think this scene's the worst
Right.
of the dubbing because it's like they can't figure out how to still have the background crowd noise and have them talking.
Yeah.
And this
a classic
I noticed
problem.
in this movie, a lot of the shots, there was a lot of stuff going on in the foreground. Like right in front of the camera, whether it was just people walking in front of the camera, like that's throughout the movie a ton.
Gilmore is like stuck in between all of the cords. It's like wrapped around him. Gilmore. Okay, we got him out. He kind of had some problems there. But yeah, the graduation is just not. It's not very good. We're introduced to all these new characters, and they're kind of doing what is becoming classic in this series, where it's like, hey, dude, you're like the nerdy one, right? And it's like, that's me, the nerdy one, but you're sure pretty, aren't you? Yeah, and my dad wants us to party later at his house, but whatever. And you're kind of like, okay, we just have to get this crap out of the way.
Whatever.
But, I mean,
so
it's
we find out
better than a longer movie.
Greta is apparently, when God was working that day, he was working really hard to create her, which means she's a smoke show.
Yeah.
And her mom knows it because she's trying to get her to become a model.
Yeah.
So she is monitoring every single thing she puts in her mouth. That's what she said.
Oh, come on. It's not that kind of show.
Sorry. It's Halloween. And then we have Mark, who is the comic book dude, who's like also a skater dude.
Yeah.
But he's definitely has a thing for Greta.
Yeah.
And then we have Yvonne, who seems like some crazy athlete.
Yeah.
Like she's a
She's
diver.
a diver.
Yeah.
A swimmer diver, as we call them.
And then we have Dan and Alice from the last movie. They're still together. Dan's parents want him to get this football scholarship.
Yeah.
But he's throwing his life away because him and Alice have plans to go to Europe for the summer before college starts.
Yeah. Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. oh, they're just gonna go on a trip to Europe, and the parents are like, "You're never gonna make it to football if you go to Europe." And
well,
it's like,
if he's gonna go to a Division I school, he's got no time to go to Europe for the summer. You
yeah,
don't
I guess you're right.
understand, Micah.
It's true. I didn't go to college.
So, that's happening, and then Alice is really bummed because her dad didn't show up.
Uh-huh.
And as we know from the last movie, brother died, and they didn't
Yeah.
have a mom that we know of.
Right.
Like we're assuming she died, I guess. So it's just her and her dad. But we do find out he like comes out from behind a tree, basically.
Right.
And he's been there the whole time, and he's so proud of her. But he said he admitted to lurking because he didn't want to embarrass her. And it's like, Dad, that's way more embarrassing
Right.
than just sitting with everyone else.
I kind of I was kind of taken back by the dad in this movie because he's so bad in the first one he's in, which is the
Is he
previous
bad?
movie. Yeah, he's like an alcoholic that is like abusing the kids emotionally.
Yeah.
And in this movie, it's like,
Oh, you mean just a bad person?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, not acting.
Yeah.
And then in this movie, I think the character growth is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Where he's like, no, I'm trying to be better, and I also understand that I've done you wrong, so I'm not gonna make you forgive me. I just hope that I can earn it someday.
Yeah.
And I think he's
the
really
most-
good.
He's the most complicated character in this series so far. That's probably true.
Now, there's one more complicated.
Freddy.
Mr. Krueger, baby.
So Alice has to go to work.
Yeah,
but
we do see in the same scene, though, we see the kids jumping on the rope. And they
yes,
say,
that's on the way to work.
10, he's back again. Which, of course, he is.
Which means she somehow fell asleep between graduation and going to work.
Well, it seems like the jump rope girls sort of
Like
evaporate.
hypnotic.
Not evaporate.
What?
What is that called?
Disappear?
Evaporate?
Evaporate
No, what's the like Harry Potter
Apparate.
term? Apparate.
and disapparate.
Yeah. Is that made up? Is that
What do you-
real?
Oh, I only know that from Harry Potter. So no.
It's just like
No, you can't. You, Micah, cannot disapparate.
watch me.
You're a muggle. He can't do it.
No, I feel like they kind of blur the lines of reality.
Okay.
But at the same time, I mean, as you could with potentially all of the movies, you could be like, oh, this entire movie is a dream.
Yeah.
You know, it's all Freddy's dream or whatever.
Okay. That's not fun.
No, it's not. It's not fun.
But she is in the dream world. I forget what happens in this dream world.
Or maybe, let me posit one more thing. I'm sorry. But potentially these are new girls jumping rope, and they've been visited in their dreams. And that's why
No,
they're
I
singing
think that
about
they've
it.
always been victims of Freddy when he originally murdered all those kids.
I'm just trying to explain it in a different way. Yeah, so she has another dream and a giant baby carriage she's following around, and it attacks her.
So that's when she discovers that, oh, that's right. Freddy comes back to life. But, oh no, okay. So yeah, she's wandering through the halls of nightmares. And she sees the baby carriage, and then all of a sudden she's on a gurney
Yeah.
being wheeled through into a
Yeah.
like the creepiest looking operating
Another like Terry
room.
Gilliam weird
Yes.
distorted images.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she is in this operating room giving birth, but then because it's a dream, like in the next shot, she is watching a woman give birth. She's not giving birth.
Yeah, and it's Amanda Kruger.
It's Amanda Kruger, and she gives birth, and basically the doctor's like, "This is an abomination." And then this nun takes the baby and is like, "It's a creature of God," and it's like, what does this baby look like? And the baby like falls from her hands, and it is the grossest. It's more gross than Voldemort at the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Definitely.
Like Voldemort doesn't even scratch the surface of how gross this is.
It is. Do you like the baby?
It's hard to look at. I'm not going to say I don't like it. It's just disgusting.
They should make they should have a sequel of Freddy movies where like in the sequel somehow he has like multiple ages, and they all someone should have a nightmare where like baby Freddy, old grandpa Freddy, teenage Freddy, and regular Freddy are killing them. because I got to see more of that baby.
I'm so interested. The evolution of Freddy is very strange because in our first movie, he's just some guy that killed a bunch of kids, and he looks the way he looks because he was burned.
Yeah.
Like his skin is burned. But throughout the evolution of him has been, he's terrible things were done to his mom, and she got pregnant from it, from like 100 different people.
Yeah.
So he is like truly like a spawn of Satan kind of thing. That's why he looks so disgusting. And it's like, we really went for it, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's one way to read it. If you, I don't think you have to read it that way though.
Can you just read it as like that's what he looks like on the inside?
Well, I was thinking of another way. So this movie, and I didn't really feel this the first time around. I think maybe I just wasn't paying attention or something. But the movie posits to me this idea that I really like, and it's maybe the most interesting way that he's come back, where Alice has fought this hellspawn who is Freddy, and then she herself is dreaming of Freddy. He's not. This is how I'm like to read it.
Oh, so like this is the rebirth, and this is what the rebirth looks like.
Yes. So it's like she basically is creating Freddy from the memories that she has had of Freddy.
I like that.
And then if he gives birth to her baby, then he is like reborn.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, then he will be reborn with, because that's what he's trying to do the whole time. Is
with
like
her baby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't it? Or no.
He's trying to be reborn physically, is what you mean, basically, with her son. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be blurring, but I think I have some notes that remind me.
If I can say what you're saying in a different way, right now he is being reborn in the dream world.
Yes,
and it's cool because it's like her fears have brought him back.
Yes,
which is kind of they've kind of done that already, but like I don't care. That's great because they kind of did that in the last movie.
Yeah,
but it's so different. I don't even know why I brought it up because it's so different. You can't even really compare it.
Well, it's like the last movie, a dog pees fire, and that resurrects him.
Sure. So now that he's reborn,
and this one, it's like she is creating
resurrected,
him.
Reborn. So yeah, he's back in this one, and now I'm falling asleep.
Oh no, she's dreaming. No, well, okay. So let me finish the other point though. And then even if you're not reading it as just a rebirth, it's like since this is her creation. This is how she can imagine the birth. That's why it doesn't have to be like literally how.
Oh yeah, I'm on board with that. Yeah. What I'm talking about though is Freddy is trying to like corrupt her baby that she is pregnant with, and the whole thing is if basically it's up to the baby.
Yeah.
If the baby decides to go with Freddy, she will give birth, like physically give birth to Freddy.
Yeah.
Or Freddy's spawn.
I think
and
actually
he'll be back in the physical world. Is what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah. I think it would technically actually be a Freddy son.
Freddy spawn.
Yeah. But so it wouldn't be Freddy, it'd be a Freddy spawn, yeah. And then maybe he would like overtake that body at some point.
He'd overtake the world.
Yeah, you got to stay away from that. And you know what I just realized? So we find out later, which honestly, a clever twist in this movie, is she realizes the reason she's having dreams when she's awake and like getting stuck and stuff is because her baby is dreaming.
Yeah.
And by that logic, those jump roping girls could have shown up because they're the baby's dream.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that they're rushing the script, and I know people don't like this movie, but it's kind of good.
Yeah, it is good.
As far as the nightmare movies go.
So then, it's her. Then we go back to the chapel, which was the big showdown of the last movie, where she bested Freddy.
Yeah.
And the baby goes into his clothes and he grows into himself again.
And then he jumps up and he goes, "It's a boy," which is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I love him. You can't help but love this guy.
I know. You just gotta laugh.
And then she wakes up and then she goes to this pool party.
She does not.
No.
Everyone's at the pool.
She's not.
She's supposed to be working. She shows up to work like 4 hours late. And then, meanwhile, there's a pool party going on at the school.
Yeah.
Where the seniors are cutting loose.
Yeah.
They are getting the lead out.
Yeah. We're not bringing up that expression. Has anyone ever heard that expression before? Say it again, Jordan.
I like how it was quiet, like we were waiting. I don't know if I'm gonna say it again. So people know. Okay, so people are partying. We're not talking about.
No, we're not. But so anytime I watch a movie where a high school has a pool, I'm always like, that's insane. How cool is that? Did you ever feel that way? Because our school did not have a pool.
I don't care. I am glad we didn't have a pool.
Oh,
imagine
okay.
that smell. Like if you had to take a class that was swimming, you just smell
Then
like chlorine the whole time.
But you'd be swimming in school. How fun would that be?
No, not for me.
No?
I like swimming, but not in that context as an insecure high school student. No.
I just every time it's like to me it's kind of like outdoor lockers in movies or something where it's like, is this real? Does this exist anywhere?
How awful it is as a middle school and high school student, especially I was so nervous in middle school.
Oh, the showering situation?
No.
Oh.
Well, because no one ever showered.
Yeah.
In case you were wondering, at Grace, none of the girls showered.
Yeah.
After PE, I don't know if guys did.
I think we were forced to.
Wow, you guys must have really smelled. But I just remember.
I feel like the like if Mr. was doing it, he would like be inside. Oh no, I hope not. I hope he wasn't.
Let's cut that. The way you put your arms up to Micah, you were like, he's like this. That's not good.
Maybe I'll put a bleep or something because I think people should experience the weirdness of that. I don't think.
Is that a real thing?
I am trying to remember. It's been a long time, and I don't think there was shadiness going on with that teacher. I think it was just like they would listen. I think it was not a watching situation. It was like, no, you guys have to.
They were ensuring that the smelly boys showered.
Yes,
of PE.
I believe that it was above board.
Okay.
But I am going to bleep the name of that person.
That's wise.
Just in case.
All that being said, as a middle school girl, and we had to middle school, you have to start wearing uniforms for PE. You know, everyone wore the same outfit.
Yeah.
And everyone's sweaty, no matter boy or girl, because of puberty. And you're just trying not to do too much.
Puberty?
You're trying not to do too much in PE because you don't want to sweat too much.
Okay, yeah.
And then high school is the same thing. It's like it kind of sucked depending on the period you got. Not the period, but like the time of day that you had PE. Because sometimes that can just F up your whole day.
Yeah, like if you have PE at 8 or something.
Yeah, or right after lunch. I don't know. It's just like, I just feel it's hard not to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The rest of the day.
But
I did like PE because I liked sports.
Well,
I just didn't like that aspect.
You know what rocked in middle school PE, of course, was when it was parachute day and you had the giant parachute.
Well, did we do that in middle school? Because that sounds like an elementary school thing. And it was the coolest thing in the world. It was the
coolest thing. I could have done that in high school, man. I could do that now.
I could do that now.
Yeah. And if you don't know what the parachute thing is, folks.
No, don't even describe it. Every kid knows.
No. If you don't know, then you didn't go to you
didn't go to school.
Yeah.
Sorry
you're
to the homeschooled kids.
Yeah. Which, hey, it's great. But, you missed out on parachute time. So in this scene, we also learn that Comic Book Boy is squeamish in one of those classic scenes where you're like, well, that's going to pay off later.
Yep. Set it all up now. So Alice calls Dan.
Yes.
And she needs him to come to work right away because of what just happened. And he goes, and this is the motorcycle scene, or it's right out. No, it's not quite yet.
No, he's in a truck and the radio starts talking to Dan.
Yeah.
And it's like his parents disappointed in him and stuff like that. And then the seatbelt wraps around Freddy, who's now in the car. And Freddy drinks the champagne.
He opens the champagne, drinks it, and he says, "Bad year, Dan."
And then he rips off his arm and makes a seatbelt with it.
Yeah.
And then, Dan thinks he escapes, gets on a motorcycle, and he's racing over there. And then the motorcycle starts coming apart like a transformer and
fusing into
him. It's genuinely cool.
Yes.
And
he
says things like "better not dream and drive."
And then he says "need for speed." He probably says "motor oil."
Yeah. Fuel injection.
He probably says life is a highway. He was just saying all of the, I know that wasn't a song yet, but that all of the typical
Yeah, what you'd expect.
car driving things. And then Dan gets hit by a semi.
Yeah, and that slow motion when he wakes up and he's going straight for a semi still in his truck.
It was really good.
Really effective.
Yeah.
But one more thing before we move from the motorcycle. He kind of has this like Mad Max look that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like Immortan
He
Joe.
looks like, who's that?
That is the main bad guy in Fury
Immortan
Road.
Joe mixed with the Nicholas Hoult character.
Yeah. But genuinely a great scene. I love that scene.
Yeah. And he gets in the accident right outside of Alice's work.
Yeah.
So she runs out and sees that he's dead. And then she passes out. She wakes up in a hospital, finds out that Dan is actually dead. Confirmed.
Uh-huh.
And Yvonne, so weird. So the doctor comes in.
Right.
She's freaking out. Her dad's in there too. And then the doctor's like, this is very common for women of her condition, which is like, oh. And then, but then she's like, what's wrong with me? What's going on? And the doctor makes Yvonne tell her.
Yeah.
This is a messed up doctor.
Yeah,
for a
this
lot
guy's
of
not
reasons.
Good. This guy's like the doctor in Halloween Ends.
Yeah. I had to think for a second. But yeah, so she is preggo.
Yeah. And is this when she has?
Oh,
no, that's not yet.
And
when
then
she has
she's
the dream.
like spends the night in the hospital in the middle of the night. This little boy wearing the shortest
I know.
hospital
like,
gown,
nightgown
that they could find. And it's the same kid from the beginning of Jurassic Park, the first one, who has the biggest doe eyes anyone's ever had.
Yeah, he's the kid who is telling
Samuel.
Alan Grant, like, oh man, it's a turkey bird. That doesn't sound very scary. And he grabs the claw and like explains it to him and scares him.
Yeah. I had to look up a picture of this kid grown up.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, that kid is just like so specific looking.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
I think he's really well cast. Like, it's very perfect for this movie. Because he kind of, for lack of a better term, has like a haunted quality to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, love all of that. It's very cool.
So yeah, he introduces himself as Jacob, and then the next day she asks Yvonne, who's that Jacob kid? Is he really sick? Like, is he doing really bad? And Yvonne doesn't know who she's talking about. They don't have a children's ward.
Right.
Who was the kid?
Right. Yeah. When we first watched it, did you make that connection right away?
No.
I don't think I did either. Guys, this movie's kind of good.
Mm.
I mean, 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's good. It's better than 4.
So do we skip to Greta?
Well, so here's a complaint I do have with the movie, though. Greta has a room full of dolls.
Yeah.
And they kind of do stuff in her death scene. But when I see a room full of dolls in a horror movie, you can't just leave that dangling thread. I wanted her to be like in bed and all of the dolls like attack her.
I think they did too. It's like they had too much going on with her because the way that she died made total sense.
Yeah.
Based on what we know. So why do we need the dolls?
Yeah, maybe that's a script thing where maybe they had a doll scene actually.
Yeah.
Well,
they do kind of come up later with the comic book guy.
They do?
Yeah, because in his scene, he looks
doll,
up and she is a doll now.
Right, and that's cool. I mean,
I guess the doll thing makes sense because it's like it's perfect. You know, it's
right.
constructed. But yeah.
But and then so they show the doll room, and then the scene after that, Alice is at home, and I think this is a sweet scene where she sees her dad. And she's just been crying, and then she goes, "Are you disappointed in me?" And he just simply says, "No, I'm not."
Yeah.
And he's like proud of her. He's fine.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of sweet.
I hope it's a boy because I miss a boy being around here, referring to her brother.
I think I think that's kind of it for him in the movie, but he really leaves a lasting impression.
Her later when Dan's parents are like trying to
like adopt the baby.
Yeah, I think he stands up for her.
He does, yeah. You're right.
But yeah.
So
then we go to another scene with Greta.
Yeah.
But in the middle of this, Alice is trying to convince her friends that Freddy's back. But they obviously don't know who that is because this is a new cast. But Greta is at home, and it's like a dinner party that her mom's putting on, and it's obviously a networking thing. It's a very Beetlejuice. Her mom is very Catherine
really
O'Hara.
reminds me of Beetlejuice. And this is after Beetlejuice came out, so this could be kind of inspired.
Yeah.
right? Because he made that before Batman, right?
I can't remember, but I want to say yes.
I'm pretty sure. I'll double check while you talk about the scene.
So, yeah, they're all eating, but Greta is not in a good mood because her friend just died, and her mom's giving her crap about it. And she says, well, my friend just died.
It came out the year before.
Okay. Batman?
Beetlejuice.
Before Batman.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this year, Batman and Dream Child came out in the same year.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I know. Isn't that something?
That's really cool. Anyway, Greta falls asleep at the table.
Yeah.
And Freddy's here.
Bon appetit, bitch.
And he starts force feeding her, and it's just so disgusting. Her, like, it's just
They have like prosthetics to make her face
look
get bigger.
really cartoonish, but good.
It's a cool death scene.
And
I mean,
so she is like stuffed to death. And while this is happening, she's trying to call out to Alice for help. And Alice is in the kitchen, and the fridge, she like comes out of the fridge.
Yeah.
And is
cool.
like asking for help. Alice is trying to pull her out, but it doesn't succeed. And Greta like chokes to death.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
We got two pretty solid death scenes here. And I did want to know when Take On Me came out. Because
of the music video.
Yeah, because that was like such a prominent music video.
Yeah.
And then this movie feels like it's kind of ripping it off. Song came out in 1985. So they probably would have been messing with that technology for a while. It wouldn't have been like totally novel.
So by this point, Alice is still trying to convince Mark and Yvonne of what's going on, but Yvonne's like, this is whack. I'm getting out of here.
Mm-hmm.
No way. You're crazy. But Mark is trying to humor her. And so they go to his little cool room in his dad's warehouse where he has all of his drawings and stuff. And the plan is for her to fall asleep and him to watch her.
Yeah.
So what happens in her dream sequence?
Well, Jacob shows up again.
Okay.
Do unborn baby's dream, because she finds that out at the hospital. I think we skipped these scenes, and I said that's a fun twist. And then we get the baby's dream, where it goes into the what is that called? When you're checking to see your ultrasound?
Yeah.
It like goes into the TV, and we see how the baby is like sucking the souls of the friends.
Oh yeah.
And the scene's kind of gross.
Yeah.
It kind of grosses me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like those moments elevate this movie above 4.
Yeah.
I think 2, even though 2's fun and goofy, I think I'm putting this one at
2's
3.
not a good story.
Yeah, it's not. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
So I think many Nightmare fans would probably be flabbergasted that this wouldn't be at the bottom, but I think it's better than people give it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And then her parents are like, his parents.
Oh, Dan's parents come over and they're like, we want to raise the child.
Yeah.
And not even really. Oh, they ask like, what does she plan to do with the baby? And she wants to have it. They want to raise it. And Alice says, you can't, it's my baby. And that's when her dad stands up for her.
Yeah.
But it's getting to a point though where people are starting to think that she's crazy.
Right.
Because she keeps going on about this Fred Krueger guy that's killing people.
And he's going to take her baby.
And he killed Dan. And it's like, no, Alice, Dan died in a car accident.
Yeah.
You know.
So, classic. Hey, that's classic Nightmare.
Yeah.
Am I, Jordan? Tell me I'm
Michael,
right.
You be right.
And then at one point here, there is a scene where I just wanted to point it out because it's funny, where comic book dude, not the Simpsons comic book guy, comic book dude, for some reason is just like, I believe her and stuff. I've been reading this book, and of course, it's the book we all know and love and studied in school, Christian mythology, the book. That's all.
What were they looking up, though?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. It's been a couple days since we've watched it.
Don't tell the audience.
I mean, yeah, I can't
Jordan,
remember.
don't tell the audience.
Probably something about satanic stuff or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's gobbledygook.
It's a horror movie.
It's a horror movie.
It's a horror movie made in the 80s. There's some satanic stuff in it.
Satanic. And then we have the pool dive sequence with Yvonne.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it?
It's cool. So Yvonne, she falls asleep in a hot tub.
Yeah.
But then she's dreaming, but she gets out and goes to do a dive. And I don't know how to describe it other than the diving board becomes like a monster, a gross monster, and she jumps into the pool.
And both times I expected that she would like splatter on the pool or something.
Well, it looked like it was going towards the shallow end.
Well, yeah, and she's like diving in a weird way, and it's going slow motion. So I'm like, I get, or it'd be like a lame, like she just hits the water and then it shows her floating face down, you know?
Yeah.
But when she dives in, it like goes into like a new dimension kind of thing.
It goes into the dream. Well, she's already in the dream world, but further into the dream world.
It's cool.
And Alice is also in the dream world, and she basically finds Yvonne.
Yeah. And saves her. Yvonne does not die in this movie.
I know, it's surprising.
It really is.
So she saves her. They get back into this hallway. Freddy is about to chase after him, but he stops and hesitates and lets the door close because Amanda Kruger's nearby.
Yeah.
And he wants to stay away from her because she's the key to getting rid of him.
Right.
And that's her. Alice is trying to find Amanda Kruger in the dream world. Well, also in the physical world. But yeah.
And then we have.
I think we're the Christian mythology was about suicide.
That's what it was. Yeah.
What happens to a soul? Because by the end of the movie.
So then we have the best sequence that's ever been filmed in any movie, which is the Nightmare from Hell comic book sequence. It's not really that, but first of all, when we first watched it, I felt pretty cool because the comic book dude is looking at comic books and it shows a few, and one of the Spider-Man comics that was on the floor, I had read that very day. So points for
special.
Me. But I couldn't remember which one it was when we were watching it this time because there's several Spider-Man
Well, you've read like
comics.
1,000.
I have read well over 1,000 Spidey comics, yes. But he gets sucked into a comic book which he picks up that says Nightmare from Hell, and it's showing the movie.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the rest of this scene, it's they have these painted sets that are all black and white.
And when you were watching behind the scenes stuff, Freddy was painted black and white, right?
I believe so because they said that the sets were painted black and white.
I think it was because there were a couple times when on the very periphery things were a little bit in color.
Yeah.
So that's why I think he was in black and white. It looks great.
Yeah, and the kid is not in black and white.
Yes. And neither is, I think, Greta when she shows up with the dolls and stuff.
Yeah. And then this is the best shot of the whole series.
We rewound it. We rewound
like
it several
4
times the first time, and we rewound it several times the second time.
And the third time we will do the same.
Yeah.
Because he comes in on a skateboard, Freddy. And then he jumps off the skateboard, and the camera looks at him, and the music punctuates it with this loud rum, and he tips his hat, and it is so goofy, it's hilarious.
Oh, it's so funny. And then he spins.
And then he spins and cuts a pipe, and I mean, it's so hard to describe how goofy this is, but it's like, he has done goofy stuff. I mean, especially the second movie.
This is the zenith of the goofiness.
Yes. And oh my gosh, it is so funny. And he says, "Told you comic books were bad for you." He turns into like a super one, and then
But Mark shows that's the comic book dude. Mark, he becomes his character that he's created, which is some kind of steampunk gunslinger.
Yeah, Phantom Rider
Menace.
or Phantom No, oh no. It's Phantom something.
Yeah.
The Dark Phantom, I think is maybe what it's called.
I like his outfit. It's cool.
It is cool.
And so he personifies his superhero self and is shooting at superhero or supervillain Freddy.
Yeah.
But doesn't succeed, and Mark turns into
2D paper.
Poopy paper. And Freddy just slices him to shreds.
It's cool.
Literally.
And the colors of him drip out of the 2D paper.
That's like the cherry on top.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's so cheesy. I love it. And then they go to the asylum.
Okay.
And this is like the showdown.
Alice is sleeping.
Alice is there. Yeah. And then there's like M. Escher stairs and stuff.
Okay, so yeah, she's like in the dream world asylum. Yvonne goes to the real asylum because she needs to find the body of Amanda.
That's right.
Kruger.
Yeah. Which is just like a rule they just threw into the movie like 2 seconds before.
So random. I guess I get it, but it does feel like an afterthought.
Totally.
But yeah, so Alice, MC Escher type stairs, running around looking for her son, running away from Freddy.
All this cool. I mean, it's obviously like composited shots, like 3 or 4 different ones. But I think they did a good job on it.
Yeah, it looks really cool
and disorienting.
So this is when she discovers that Jacob is her son,
Yes.
the baby inside her.
Yes.
And Freddy Jacob has become. Freddy has convinced Jacob that Alice doesn't want him.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
and Freddy has been manipulating him into like, choose me, I'm the fun one.
Yeah.
But then Jacob ultimately chooses Mama.
Mama.
And while that's going on, Yvonne finds Amanda Kruger's body, which has been very strange. I mean, it's like horror movie perfection,
Yeah.
but in real life makes no sense. This woman apparently committed suicide, and they put her body kneeling, staring up through a window, and she's like a skeleton now, still wearing her nun outfit, like for eternity, staring up at God for penance or something.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be a classic Romeo Juliet where she had poison.
Oh, okay. I just assumed hanging for some reason.
I'm kidding. It makes no sense that her body is that way.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I think I'd like
took
to
me at
think
face
that
value
the
there.
Catholic Church plays whatever is in charge of this. The people in charge. Like,
Oh, she didn't really
placed her.
kill herself.
No, she did.
Okay.
But they placed her this way in this mausoleum.
Yeah.
And they placed her body
Yeah.
this way to always be seeking forgiveness from God because of what she did.
Yeah.
And then they bricked her away.
They bricked her.
You know what I mean? They
Like a Lego.
They sealed off the mausoleum,
Yeah.
basically, even though it's in a building.
Yeah.
Yvonne finds her, sets her free, sets her soul free, basically. Simultaneously, happens in the dream world too.
Yeah, and she's able to, like Jacob attacks Kruger, and then like the faces of the victims pop out of his chest and trying to attack, and then basically,
Oh yeah, that's cool. No, they're trying to go towards Amanda Kruger because she can save them.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
And then Freddy and Alice are literally within each other, intertwined their bodies because he's trying to like be the baby inside her, I guess.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what. And then
loses.
Amanda is able to like suck him in, and then it's like locked away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of blew through that ending there, but I think that's what happens.
Yep.
I think it's kind of good.
I think so too.
I mean, it's good on a sliding scale. Like, this isn't as good as a lot of good movies, but for like the wildly different nightmare movies, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's still, as long as there's some fun kills, I'm having a good time. I
agree. Me too.
But I've heard, and we all hope you had a great Thanksgiving yesterday. I just looked this up on the calendar. I hope that next week we'll be able to find something good in Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare, because we've been told by our guests on our last episode that one is like joyless.
Really?
That's the one where it's not
how long
good.
is it in between both movies?
Let's see. So this one came out in 1989, as we discussed, the same year as Batman. And Freddy's Dead came out in 1991. So
pretty soon.
Pretty soon.
Not like I'm thinking like 10 years or something.
This one has a 39 Metascore and a 4.7.
I don't think that really matters with these movies.
No. But it does, the clips I can see, oh my gosh, there's someone in this that's going to make you go, what? That person's in it? But
don't tell me.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. But it does look like, it kind of looks like a TV movie.
Oh, great. Well, these movies kind of look like TV movies.
Whoa.
That doesn't really matter.
Whoa. Okay, sorry. It's playing a trailer or a scene, and there's something kind of interesting that just happened. But I'm not going to say. So next week, we're going to cover that. On Patreon earlier this month, we did Edward Scissorhands, as requested by...
I mean, Freddy has a scissor hand.
Hey!
So this was chosen by a patron. Thank you for choosing this. I love this movie. But it is kind of on theme.
It is on theme. And then I'm going to tell you, folks, next month, it's December, and two fun things are happening. One, we are doing a bracket to decide which large series we're going to cover next year. Like this year, we did Star Wars. And on that bracket, you can choose between Alien/Predator, X-Men, Star Trek, Die Hard, Dawn of the Dead.
What's Star Trek? Like, what do you mean?
Star Trek.
How many are there?
12, I think.
Oof.
Dawn of the Dead, Superman, Jack Ryan, and Planet of the Apes.
Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
How many are there of those?
I think there's 5 or 6.
Oh, because that's like Hunt for Red October.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess the Superman and Jack Ryan ones are not that long, but I threw them on there.
Interesting choices, Micah.
Yeah. And so if you want to go to my Instagram at out_of_Micah, we'll be doing those. You can vote for those every day, and patrons' votes count as 2.
Uh-huh.
And guess what, folks? On Patreon, we're covering Avatar next month. We already recorded it. It's good. And guess what else? We got to get to 50 patrons. I want to start 2023 with January coming out with an episode on the history of Pixar and beginning our 3rd podcast that will only be on Patreon as well. So sign up for $3. Hopefully by now we already have the 50.
That'd be great.
But thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams, my precious ones.
1, 2, spooky podcast for you. 3, 4, lots of blood and gore. 5, 6, Freddy's goofy tricks. 7, 8, another deadly fate. 9, 10, never podcast again.